Welcome to the AU Scoop. I'm your host, Phillip Dukes, aka Dukes D Scoop. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Dukes D Scoop. And please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. If you haven't already, make sure you go become a member. There are varying levels of support that you can bestow upon your buddy, Dukes the Scoop. All right. But yeah, go check that out in all seriousness. And I think yesterday I dropped a video talking about linebacker recruiting, and I dropped that separately from the rest of the OVs that occurred last weekend in Auburn because I wanted it's a position that concerns me that I think that Auburn to be able to fix, but I think other Auburn fans should have a little bit of concern regarding linebacker and the linebacker recruiting and not worry, just like, keep your eyeball on it because when the news hits that most people in the industry think is inevitable about Tootle and Garrett, then decommitting potentially, you know, you want to see where Auburn is going, what the tea leaves are kind of pointing towards as far as recruiting goes at the linebacker position. But that wasn't everything that was on campus. There were a lot of players. I believe it was 15 or 14. Really, I would consider that weekend to be a success. And you remember the days of when everybody said, this is back to the Malzahn era, and a lot of you guys probably remember this, where they would say, well, you got to get them on campus. Auburn was finishing second and third in a lot of guys' recruitments, and they said your biggest weapon is to get them on campus. Auburn is doing a way better job of at least getting guys on campus than they used to do in some of the previous years. Think about some of the times during the Harsin era, like this is like literally night and day. But you got to close on guys, and I think that with a season where so much is riding on wins and losses, when you think of recruiting, um, you want to get guys on campus, let them get familiar with it, and then as they see the product, as they see the tide start to turn, then it makes it easier as you make a late push to get guys in the fall. So as it stands, yeah, you got some pretty intriguing guys on campus last week. Let's go through the list. I want to start out with quarterback Landon Duckworth out of Jackson, Alabama, 6'3", 195 pounds, ranked on 24/7 Sports as the number 6 quarterback in the country. For that very reason, I think this will be a really tough pull for Auburn. Um, and the reason being is let's go look at something right quick. Hold on one second. So when you look at the reporting after the OVs, man, my man Chris Clemente did a great job. Shout out to Auburn Undercover. We got some work that you'll see later in the week. Uh, didn't get a chance to get in front of Landon Duckworth. Um, the reasons why I think Landon Duckworth may not be the guy in this class for Auburn, and I'm not saying it couldn't happen. But when you look at guys ranked as highly as he is, we're talking about the number 6 overall quarterback. Now let me just walk you through the quarterbacks in this class. I mean, I think sometimes we may forget about, where we are as a fan base, quarterback room loaded, right? Um, so that's something definitely to be excited about. And a lot of the top tier programs have multiple guys of his ilk committed. Or you look at what UGA has done. You look at right now what Ohio State has been able to do in the past, and what Alabama has been able to do in the past, where you have these highly ranked quarterbacks just stacked after stack after stack. But yeah, I think with Duckworth, when you look at where Auburn is, you look at his need in the class. Where is he needed? All right, so watch this. The quarterbacks in front of Landon Duckworth: are all 5 stars, according to 24/7. Think about this. Soon as you step out of 5-star status, he is the first one. What do we know about 5-star quarterbacks in this era? It's going to be a lot of money, right? So for a team like Auburn, and I'm going to keep saying this, for a team like Auburn that has one of the best quarterback rooms on paper in the country, I think they were ranked top 10. When you've got Jackson Arnold, who I know is a 7-figure guy, you got Deuce Knight. If he ain't 7, he close. You got my man Ashton Daniels. He was a quarterback with starts. He didn't come to Auburn without any NIL. It's a pretty loaded room, and a room where there's still question about revenue sharing. Okay, so I'm not saying everything is about money. What I'm saying is the going rate for a quarterback of Landon Duckworth's ilk. Faison Brandon, number 1 overall quarterback, 98 ranking. Keyshawn Henderson, number 2, according to 24/7. He's a 98. Jared Curtis, going to Georgia, 98, 5-star. Ryder Lyons, his brother plays tight end for Southern Cal. He's only taken 3 OVs, I believe. He has, or 3 left in his USC, Oregon, and BYU. It's crystal ball to Southern Cal. Okay. Dia Bell, 5-star, 98 overall. Shout out to Dia Bell, great kid. And his dad, Roger Bell, former NBA player. Committed to Texas. Been committed to Texas for over a year now. Don't think he's coming off that pledge. 98. And then there's Landon Duckworth. So if you go million, where do you think that leaves Duckworth? Okay. South Carolina, Ole Miss, immediate needs. When you look at what the quarterback Ole Miss has, he's been there for 2 years already. 2 years at the most, league bound if he does what he's supposed to do. Yeah, Auburn, you got that Deuce Knight guy, right? South Carolina, if these are the teams that he's crystal ball to, South Carolina, if they get the performance that they're looking for, if Lenore Sellers does what he's supposed to do, 2 years at the most, he could probably get up out of there this year. They gonna pay him like, we need you to come in and play early. Florida State, where he's also taking an OV, they definitely need a quarterback. So I'm not sure how much it is Landon Duckworth, you in-state kid, Jackson, Alabama. I'm not sure how heavily Auburn wants to invest. And I am not the guy who's in control of the NIL money, but this is just, from somebody who's done recruiting for a while, and we all follow it. I'm like, this one don't look too good for the home team on this one. Now, anything can change, because this time last year, everybody thought it was going to be another quarterback at Auburn, and it ended up being Deuce Knight. And I remember the first interview Deuce Knight did last year on a national level, I did, and we had to talk off the record. Auburn wasn't even in the picture at all. 0. It was more Alabama than anything at that time. True story. When I bring Deuce on this show, we'll talk about that. Very, very funny story. But I'm just letting you know how things can change. But as of today, I would seriously doubt Landon Duckworth being in this class. Now, another tea leaf that I am reading about this whole Landon Duckworth thing is right after his official visit, Auburn offers another 4-star quarterback in the class, a Penn State commit by the name of Peyton Falzone. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't know if it's Falzone, but Peyton, Falzone. If somebody gets the correct pronunciation, let me know. But yeah, so we'll follow that, monitor that situation, see if he gets an OV down in the Auburn. But as far as that situation with Landon Duckworth, that's how I see that right now. But I do think valiant effort by Auburn to continue to recruit, because you never know what can happen. But just based on uh, where it is right now. That's that on that. All right, but some more, a lot more intriguing visits. All right, a big target, Auburn, big target. Wilson Zare. I horrible at that name. Sorry. I think they Zaire. I think I've heard it Zaire. I think I've heard it pronounced multiple ways, but Big Wilson, whose brother Killian played at Auburn, playing at Raven Gap. I think he's still overseas, if I ain't mistaken. But Germany is where he's from. But this is a guy who Auburn legacy through his brother um, really kind of blew up late in the cycle. I think he's a recent 4-star. Was a 3-star most of the cycle. I think people are starting to catch on to him. Composite 4-star when you include on 3 and rivals. 24/7 has him as the 30th offensive tackle. He's a guy I think you could put at multiple places. 6'6", 280. Chris Clemente was all over this one once again. This is in his article. If you haven't, go to subscribe at auburnundercover.com. He says Auburn set off a huge run of offers for Wilson, who now has schools all across the country after him. His official visit calendar reflects that. Auburn has pushed the hardest to this point and put in the base work to be the team to beat for him, especially given his older brother. Still work to be done. Georgia made a huge move during his official visit and is a serious contender. Michigan, Alabama, and Wisconsin will also have their chances. All right, this is a guy. This is one thing that I wish Auburn did a better job of. And you cannot tell people how to do their jobs. But if I had one wish for Auburn, I know this is an imperfect science, and I know that you cannot continue to recruit based on the past. But man, when you have legacies to Auburn, as much as Auburn talks about, the Auburn family, the creed, how special a place it is, when you get guys who are good enough to play at Auburn, right? Let's say there's a guy, 3-star, for example, high 3-star, that may go to South Carolina, but you got a guy you like a little bit better. Go get the Auburn legacy, please. Keep the Auburn guys coming. Bring them back home. To this day, I'm sorry, but there's no way in the hell Braden Jacobs shouldn't be in Auburn orange and blue. The son of Brandon Jacobs, mama, grandmama, uncle, like a quadruple Auburn legacy did not go to Auburn. Ain't no way in the hell he shouldn't be at Auburn. He did fine going to Clemson, getting good reps. Actually ended up with the ones for some of the spring due to an injury. Got to go up against TJ Parker, Peter Woods. He's going to be a player for Clemson. They're really excited about him. 6'7", 330-pound guy. And Auburn couldn't use him. Get out of here. That's the only thing I wish. Is that you do a better job, is that Auburn will do a better job with legacies. You got to knock this one out the park. You got to bring Wilson home. It's important to start to have those legacies and have guys coming back. You just go look at all the legacies that you have. Spencer Johnson, his son, KK will be coming to camp at Auburn. He's a quarterback in Texas, 6'6", but I think he's coming to camp as a tight end. Knock that one out the park if you can. I mean, you got guys who are going to have kids that are going to be ball players. Bring them to Auburn. How many times have we heard this Auburn legacy story? Even if it's not just a football player dad, it could be a mom, or aunt, softball player, track runner, anything. But if I had one wish, Auburn would do a better job with legacies. No disrespect to anybody in the recruiting office. I just wish that it went that way. And I hope Wilson's recruitment can help spearhead more of keeping the Auburn family at home. All right, another guy, really interesting guy, Jelane Miller. Reason I'm going off so crazy is because Auburn continues to need help on the offensive line. You can't win in the SEC without the trenches. You cannot. It's been a long time since Auburn has had a dominant offensive line. We've had serviceable, for sure. Dominant offensive line. Lean on you offensive line. Footwork and athleticism offensive line. You got to get back to that. Jelane Miller, 6'6", 300 pounds. Could play tackle or guard on the next level. from the West Coast. Says his parents are gonna move with him wherever he goes, so that's a good thing. He's in Arizona. Um, I think it's a lot of good offensive linemen here this year in this cycle. Um, I like where Auburn sits right here for Miller. Actually, right now, I think they've done a pretty good job from what I'm hearing. Um, I think they made a big move. Other people in the industry also agree. So I would keep my name. I would keep my eyes on that name, Jalaine Miller. Let's talk about Parker Pritchett, the Auburn commit. I think out of Columbus, you got another thing. I wish Auburn would go back and start back taking Columbus over. Like closest school, it's the closest SEC school to Columbus. You got to get back in Columbus, Phoenix City. I think getting Cam Coleman was a step in the right direction, but getting back in Columbus, going back over to Carver, you think about all the guys out of Columbus, all the way back to Frank Thomas, Roger Hood for the Auburn lifers. You know, this is somewhere you want to be successful at is in Columbus. So having a guy out of Carver, Parker Pritchett, really good ball player, interior offensive lineman, great size, 6'5", 310 pounds. I think you got to keep him in the class. He is going to take an official visit to Georgia. That's his last OV. I hate when other schools get the last OV. I do. But he'll also be visiting Texas A&M, Florida, and Mississippi State. So Auburn's got to hold on to this guy. You don't, if you notice, he has all SEC offers. So even though they say, oh, he's a 3-star, he doesn't have a 3-star official, not even just the offer list. He doesn't have a 3-star official visit list. Like all his OVs are SEC schools, Florida, Georgia, Auburn, and yeah, I just think you got to keep this guy in the class. So Auburn can't take the foot off the gas. He did say he had a great visit. According to Christian Clemente, he said other schools haven't stopped pursuing him, but it'd be hard to project a flip to anyone else at this point. The Tigers made him a huge priority and got his commitment for a reason. This weekend, basically reaffirmed and he understands why he's committed to Auburn. So I think that went well. Got to keep Parker Pritchett in the class. I don't care where he's ranked at. He's a guy you need in the class. Valdon Song, a late addition. He was the surprise visit out of Blue Ridge, Virginia, originally from Sweden. Right before his junior year, he came over. Hasn't been playing American football long. He can be a nose tackle. He can play the 3 technique. He can play the 5. When you talk about somebody who has a whirlwind recruitment because his athleticism, 6'3", 315 pounds, hasn't even like 24/7 says he's the 4th best defensive lineman in the country. So got everybody in the world after him. Oklahoma, Florida, Georgia, Nebraska, you name it. Everybody in the world's on him. Andrew Ivins said, shout out to Drew Ivins, a big frame European transplant that has only played a few years of American football, initially viewed as a developmental offensive tackle, but now a defensive lineman after impressing on that side of the ball. The data reads as a 6'4", 285-pound guy with a 4.55 effort and a short shuttle. Okay, cool. Reclass for 2027. If he stayed at 2027, he probably is a 5-star. Went crazy at the Navy All-American Bowl. Went to Blue Ridge. Went to school in Virginia. Went undefeated. Won a state championship. Helped Sweden beat Denver. Excuse me, I said Denver. Helped Sweden beat Denmark in their junior football championships. Had 2 sacks and a fumble recovery. I mean, dog, he's got everything you would want. But Georgia is on him now. After a really good weekend in Auburn, when I guess with his schedule, he left Auburn, went damn near straight to Georgia. So I'll get some intel about how that visit went as well. But he did say that Auburn is now a top priority in his recruiting. So this would be a big win for the Tigers. I think they do really well on the defensive line. So yeah, I think, and they had two more defensive line official visits during this week. So I'll get to those probably tomorrow. But yeah, I think Valdez is. I think recruiting guys like that, you have to. Hezekiah Harris out of May Jemison, Alabama, Auburn commit. He had just taken a big visit to Tennessee. A lot of people starting being concerned. He's a guy you got to keep in the class. Um, got a really good relationship with Rock Bellatoni. I think this is a guy who had a great weekend in Auburn, reaffirmed his commitment. Auburn really prioritized him. He loves how he fits into the defense. I think Auburn doesn't have a lot to, as long as Auburn wins, you don't have a ton to worry about here with Hezekiah Harris. They also just got his brother as a preferred walk-on in the transfer portal. Four-star edge out of Gainesville, Georgia. Um, Alabama commitment, Jamarion Matthews, Jamarion. So Matthews is a guy who plays on the other side of Xavier Griffin, the number one player in the country at that position. Gainesville committed to Bama. A lot of people think Griffin is going to Bama. He's also originally from Alabama. But yeah, he said the OV went great. He got to spend a lot of time with AK. Shout out to AK, my man AK McGullough. Being recruited by Rock Bellatoni and Vontrell King Williams. So this is one of those ones where it's just like, he said he had a great visit. It's gonna be hard to flip him. Everybody has to bring their A game. Everybody in the country's on him. I think he's going to LSU. Then got another visit to Bama. I don't feel really good about this, but this is another case of having to have a guy on campus that if you're going to have a shot at him, they got to see it. A lot of guys aren't and contrary to what a lot of people think, everybody doesn't want to go and spend their weekends visiting the school. Like us football fans, we love official visits. I want to make sure I get this out. A lot of people on the outside looking in, when you're not dealing with having a top recruit or working with the top recruit, or having being a parent of a top recruit, or actually being a top recruit, the official visit process looks glamorous. But what I would tell you is this: it means a lot for the majority of players to take an official visit to your school, because 9 times out of 10, first of all, if they're really good, everybody wants that visit, right? They want to make sure you come to our school, especially if you're really good. And secondly, not a lot of these kids get tired of the process. It's a lot, dog. Jumping on the jet, going across the country. If you're a national recruit, you could be in Florida one weekend and Oregon the next, or USC. USC recruits with a national imprint. Texas, don't matter. So it's a very tiring process. So I know a lot of times we think about it like, oh, it's like such a glamorous life, and having to visit all these schools has got to be fun, and they get to wine and dine you. But nah, these guys get tired of it. And I'm not saying their complaint is not nothing like, oh, you're not grateful, but I think it does mean a lot. We don't consider the time constraints placed on these guys and their families when they have to basically give up a weekend out before their senior year to be able to, like, that's a weekend away from your family, a weekend away from your teammates if they're doing 7-on-7, a weekend of being away from being a teenager with the guys where you're from. So I think it says a lot when a guy does choose to take an official visit to your school. So I think even though Auburn may not be the front runner at all in this recruitment, I do think that being able to get them on campus enables you to have a chance to get them later on if that's in the cards for you. The next guy I want to talk about is who everybody's talking about is let's talk about Jira Edwards out of St. Francis. Really good friends with Auburn commit Wayne Henry. They took their OVs together. You have that pipeline. You got a former coach from St. Francis on Auburn staff. I think his name is Wayne Dorsey. Shout out to him. Multiple players from St. Francis. This one just feels like an uphill battle. A lot of people in the industry think it's a Georgia-Ohio State thing. I think Auburn is going to continue to chip away. And like I said, man, this is another one where you got to get a guy on campus that can see it. He's been going to Auburn. He said he feels at home after the interview. So those are all good things. I just think if there's a position where I think Auburn is well positioned right now, I think safety is one of them, especially for the future. So if you don't get this guy, it's not the end of the world. But You really want this guy, and I think it says a lot. But I think this is one of those guys where you gotta have some wins. You're not gonna. I can tell you right now, Auburn go out here and win 5 games. You won't get Jair Edwards. It's just not. He's going to a winning program for sure, regardless. Um, so I think it's one of those things where you got to show some improvement on the field, and it gives you a puncher's chance. And I think this recruitment goes down to the wire. Um, Ty Boogie, my man, uh, Tyreek Green, I almost call him Tyreek Booker. Shout out to my man Travis Booker, man. That's his uncle. Went to high school with him, real familiar with him. Ty Boogie's always been a player. Um, Running back, safety, was at Cal, now he's at Buford. Played in the best leagues growing up in Atlanta. Really good player, really explosive, can do whatever you ask him to do on the football field. Can play corner if he in a pinch if he has to, can play linebacker if he need to. Uh, I think he'd be a really good star. Auburn started out with a lot of momentum in the recruitment and slowed down as they pursued other people. Now it's like full on press, but Ty Boogie is looking in some different places. So um, I think right now Georgia is looking at Ty Boogie and Jair Edwards as their safety combo. As one of the safety combo, I think they're gonna get 3 guys. I think they just got a guy too. So just depending on who commits when, that can have an impact on what Ty Boogie does. But I think that having a relationship with Kenyatta Watson will help Auburn a lot. Um, and I just think that Ty Boogie is one. He's an Auburn type guy. From what I know about him out there at Buford, plays a really good brand of football. So what I will say is this: it's gonna be hard to keep him out of Georgia, like him and KJ Bolden down there, cousins. It's gonna be hard to keep him out of UGA. But I do think that if Miami is also a huge player for Ty Boogie, but I think that if another one where I think they just want to see what Auburn does in the fall. But if Auburn like really masters the gas the way I know Auburn can, you can see Ty Boogie in this class for sure. Really good safety, man. Really explosive. Daryl Trey Bell. I believe he's a Florida or the Florida State commit. Yeah, Florida State commit. Been committed for a while. 6 feet, 192, 3-star guy. Had a really good time at Auburn. He's gonna visit Bama next. Then he'll go to Florida State. Uh, I think he's a guy that you want to have more at the field side on the safety. Can cover a lot of ground. They're the main school pushing the flip them. I think they're ahead of Alabama right now. Really good relationship with TJ Rushing, the safeties coach, and I think I like Auburn's chances if he were to flip to anybody. I like Auburn here. So I would pay close attention to Daryl Trey Bell for sure. I think Auburn feels good as well at this point. So definitely I would pay attention to Daryl Trey Bell. And I think last but not least, let's talk about JZ Wils. Edge guy out of Watley, Alabama, 4-star. This is a guy, this is what Cooper Patagna had to say about him. Two-way prospect that utilizes combination of size, speed, and athleticism to dominate both sides of the ball. Estimated at 6'4", 220. Primarily positioned as an off-ball backer in an odd front, but a lot of people want to see him at the edge. His size, frame, and natural ability to rush the passer indicate that he projects as an on-ball edge in the future. Okay, man. So, not a ton of competition around there, but you can just kind of see it. He's also got everybody in the world on him. I think, hold on. Wilkes is a guy that if you ask around the industry right now, Auburn is probably in the best position. You get JZ Wils and he's Harris, dog, bruh. He's looking pretty good at edge, man. Shout out to Rock Bellatoni, man. I think he's doing a great job And Vontrell helps too, and the recruiting staff. But this is a guy that you like. He looks like it, dog. When you see him, like he's not that traditional high school body. He's 6'4", 220. Looks like he could play, in the NFL today. Um, I think he's going to be a player, the type of guy that you want to keep. Like, and Auburn has to maintain this grip over the state of Alabama to even be to reach the heights that they can. They got to continue their rise in Alabama, and I think this is a great spot, especially when you're beating Alabama for guys. I talked to some guys at Alabama last year, and they had some things to say like, "Oh, well, some of the guys that we lost to Auburn, we didn't want them no way." All right, cool. That being said, I know you want Wilkes. I know Bama wants Wilkes. So if you could get Wilkes, I think that says a lot. I know they want Harris too. There's some guys that, you know, Auburn has to win some of these battles, and I think this is one that Auburn should win. And if you ask around the industry right now, Auburn sits in a better position than anybody for Jaquez Wilkes. And, hopefully for Auburn fans, they get it done. All right, well, that's my time, folks. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. I'm trying to get on a better schedule. So right now, let's aim for at least 3 pieces of content a week. So just so you don't miss anything, make sure you subscribe and tell a friend to tell a friend. All right, that's my time. I'm out.